All right, guys, we are going live. Okay, so very good evening and a warm welcome to everyone to our brand new series of weekly career class. So this time, our super experts are going to talk about careers and different courses that you're targeting overseas. What kind of challenges you may face, whether how can you be doubly sure of the courses that you're looking at, and we'll also be talking about their requirements, their success rates as well. There's a lot to share in today's session because uh, today the topic that we have picked is study medicine abroad, and students who are already targeting MBBS abroad probably know the window for application open little early and closes soon. So we are going to talk about how to plan, what the timelines, what finances you can look at, how you can probably manage your studies while working or not working, whether the part-time available or not. So we have our two super coaches with us. So these two guys, Ms. Parmita Sarma and Ms. Shilpa Patak, is going to share their experiences with the students. They've sent many students successfully overseas, and they will be helping you with your queries, with your questions, if you have related to, studying overseas medicine. So just stay tuned with us. Post your question in the chat box, which is open for your questions, and we would be having questions during the session as well. So keep asking, right? So without any further delay, I think we can get started. So over to you both. Yeah.
Hello. Ma'am, over to you. You start, and then I'll present the screen. And we have a small PPT for you. So yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, right. So hi, everybody. Good to be back again. It's great to see students and, having queries. I hope you do have a lot of questions and we are there to answer your questions. As Bushra has said, we are looking into medicine, doing your medicine, your MBBS or your MD abroad, right? So we are trying to, there are lots of myths, there are lots of doubts, as to which is the right time for a student to go, which is the right country for a student to go, and why. So these are the things that we want to look into. It'll be an overview. Obviously, it's such a huge topic, so we can't go into it in depth. But if you have specific questions, we are definitely there to answer those questions. And so hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will get a fair idea of what is it that is required for you to do for studying medicine abroad, and why and how you should choose your country, right? So we have a little presentation for you. So Parmita will present the presentation and take you through, and in between, if there are questions, we are there and we will answer those questions. Over to you, Parmita.
Thanks, ma'am. So basically, as Bushra and ma'am said, we'll try and make it more interactive. Ask questions even within during the presentation. Also, you're most welcome. So here we are going to deal with a very broader and a hot topic, I would say, is studying medicine abroad. A lot of questions comes from students regarding this. Taken the fact that in India, studying medicine is not really easy, and this is one of the most aspiring field for students all across. The NEET examination in India is just more than just an examination. it becomes a life and death for few students. That we have seen situations around. So be a little open, I would say. If I have to give you a little expectation from the weekly career class that we have today, is to be a little open and understand, is this the subject that you're really aspiring to go ahead with as a career? If yes, it takes in a lot of your work, a lot of your dedication, right? And also a lot of planning if it comes towards finances and all. So we will touch upon all those points. And the very, very hot question is, which country do I go to? Where do I study? And many students look for countries which are offering them a medical degree for much lesser cost, maybe. Some of the overseas countries would have, a medical degree where you can earn within, 5 lakhs maybe. Where in India also, if you're looking at a private medical college, the cost goes up really very high, right? So we have all of these parameters. And as Shilpa ma'am rightly mentioned, we need to understand why. We need to understand what is it that is there for us. And also we need to understand the whole process little clearly before jumping to a decision that I'll be, applying to a medical study to this country or that country, because so and so country doesn't have a, entrance requirement, or the requirements are less, right? So be a little mindful, be a little focused. We would be, happy to take questions ahead. So when we are looking at a medical degree, we look at in two different ways. One is an undergrad medical degree, and the second is going for a master's or a PG. So now, who are the students who are looking for, a medical degree after 11th and 12th should be preparing for, while looking for a medical degree abroad? So there are few admission requirements that few of the countries would require. For an example, in India, you cannot do a medical degree unless and until you clear the NEET and go through the MCI counseling procedures and, get a seat for yourself, right? Just clearing or qualifying the NEET examinations may not be enough. You need also, you also need to have a good score so that you get into a, good college. Similarly, if you are looking at a medical study in the undergrad level, for some of the countries, they would look at, your aptitude in the medical field. So if you're looking at, few European countries, UK, so you would be expected to take the UCAT, which is the University Clinical Aptitude Test, widely accepted in the UK and also in few of the European countries. We also have BMAT, which is accepted in Russia, Croatia. Some of the countries do accept a BMAT score as well. ISAT here is specifically for Australia, which is called as an International Students Admission Test for students who are looking to do their undergrad medical degree from abroad. Okay, try and understand. This is an undergrad medical degree, right? So your eligibility is, 10 plus 2. So after 10 plus 2, or maybe, during your 11th and 12th, you should be preparing for this examinations along with NEET to get into, countries like UK, European countries, or some of the countries in this area, which accepts, Australia, maybe Russia, which accepts this as the clinical aptitude test, right? The other category of students are who have completed their MBBS here in India, or maybe are looking for some medical related course or studying medical related course abroad and would like to do their masters. So if you're looking for doing your masters abroad, then we have different category of examinations like the graduate admission test that we have, graduate entry for medical students, the GEMSET. We have the MCAT for US, Canada, right? Other than this examinations, for the medical graduates of India, mind you, for the medical graduates of India who are looking ahead to practice in a different country, you will have to go through some licensing examinations. So in the US, you have something called USMLE. For UK, some of the European countries also, they do accept PLAN, right? So these are the admission requirement, not an exhaustive list. Different countries would have, different licensing exams. Like we in India, we have a different licensing exam for students who have done their medical degree outside India to come and practice in India as a doctor. So one has to be really, really mindful in as to which is the examination they are targeting. Some of them are admission requirements and some of them are license requirements. All right. So all said and done, if you're looking to be a doctor, there are certain things which are, which goes without saying. You will have to perform very well in your academic sector. All right. You will have to be a very good student because that is what the job would demand. right? You would have to have a very dedicated storyline for it. Why do you really want to be a medical doctor? What is it that drives you to be a doctor? So if and do you really have the patience, the academic, to put on the academic rigor that this kind of studies will entail, right? So here I would have a question for ma'am, maybe, if you can throw some light as to what kind of a student are we really looking at when we are looking at, a student being a doctor?
Okay, so when we see students like these who are looking to get into medicine and becoming a doctor, we are looking for students who are obviously academically very strong. They are having a very dedicated, focused type of personality, and someone who is a little resilient. Okay, someone who will be able to take the pressure of the program, because it is a very, very highly demanding program. It is not for somebody who is wanting to have other things, because even if you're looking at there are different routes that I'm sure that Parmita will look into later on, into getting into the MBBS program and whatever. If you do a pre-med program, or you go into an integrated BSMD program. So there are different types of programs, but in general, we will look at with a student who has a very high academic record, who is dedicated and knows why they want to get into the medical stream. We have had students who have had the thought of just having doctor in front of their name and therefore wanting to get into, which obviously is not the right thing. So you need to know why you want to get into a program like this, and these are the type of students we want to look at, because as I said, it's a very, very demanding and difficult program to do. So it's not for the lighthearted, let's put it that way. So yes, profile is also needed, but when you're looking at a profile, we want to see someone. I have a student who says that I want to become a doctor, but they've done nothing in that field. They have not even tried it out. They've never actually done any programs, any small courses or internships. So for them, I want to ask why. Why do you want to become a doctor? So when we are looking at students, these are the type of questions we like to ask and find out, so that we have the right student.
I also have a question here to you both. So I have seen many a time students who are not sure of which countries to target, and they find it very difficult to choose between two programs, as in two tests, as in which test to appear. Mainly a student targeting UK. They don't know whether to appear for UCAT or BMAT. So what is your suggestion? Can they apply for two tests simultaneously, or are these tests are very different from each other in nature? So how do a student go about it?
All right. So, should I take it up, ma'am?
Sure.
All right. So when we are looking at both this test, both actually, qualifies a student to take up a medical degree. I always tell a student to first go through the course structure, go through the pattern of the examinations that's there. And if you are comfortable with it, you should go ahead with it. Right. So whichever test you feel, this is something that you would be comfortable and you would be, better prepared to take on the test, then you should go for that. In general, if you look at the BMAT and the acceptance of UCAT, I would never suggest take both the tests. Choose one. All right. Choose only one.
Yes.
And if the acceptances of UCAT is far wider than BMAT, I would say. So BMAT is for the, specifically for the Russell group in the UK. So if you're really targeting those universities and you do not want to target any other state or any other university, then, bingo, go ahead, do well and get a very good score in your BMAT. But if you are wanting to keep your, options open a little wider and looking at Europe and UK, general as a whole, as a country. So I think UCAT is something that I would prefer. So, ma'am, if you have something to add here, you can.
No, so yeah, I agree with you totally, because it doesn't make sense looking at, both the exams. Secondly, the BMAT and the UCAT is different, is taken for different universities. The requirement for a Cambridge and an Oxford and all that, you're looking at a BMAT, which is not, they will not look at a UCAT, right? So the specific universities are assigned to this, a specific exam, right? And as Parmita is saying, UCAT, the exam, is also widely used in other countries as well. So it might give you a better reach. Let's put it that way. Because if you're looking at European countries, even if you're looking at Australia, there's a lot of universities that take the UCAT, right? So it might give you a lot more options. When you're looking at a program like this, a university, as Parmita has been saying, you need to understand what is the course, and you need to be sure that you're looking at that course in that university. Otherwise, like, you can't apply to both Oxford and Cambridge. Why? Because they want you to be absolutely certain about the program, right? So same way for this exam.
So as these universities are pretty competitive when we talk about Oxford and Cambridge. So of course, academic is something that we are looking at, as Parmita ma'am shared. I also want to understand when it comes to profile building. So it has any importance for a student targeting medicine, or they just can, based on their academics and their performance in BMAT or UCAT, can get admission? How does that work? Or if you have any suggestions for students to, work on their profile, so what would they be?
So I would say, mainly these programs are highly academically based. So I wouldn't think that a student who is looking for something like that, any which way you're preparing for the NEET, anyway you're preparing for these exams, which are anyway competitive, right? So I don't see a lot of time or opportunity for a student to really build a profile. We're looking at profile for other programs. When you're looking at medical programs and getting into medicine itself, profile, yes, to a certain extent is required. As I said, experience, do some job shadowing or do some internships, do some courses that are applicable to the course that you're thinking of, right? If you're looking at anything that is like a master's degree and you've done some other courses on the side, it will help. But just as a profile building, I don't think it has that much value as it has for other programs.
English is one, communication is one. I think it's a strength for almost all students.
Psychology, communication, those are added benefits, for a program like this. Yeah.
So in foreign, if you're looking at overseas, then student looking for medical should also do well in their English test.
Yeah.
Now only then they get into get into the
So we are emphasizing more on academic performance throughout. So what kind of a scores actually we are looking at?
Oh wow. It's not only your academics. You're looking at students that are in their 90s and all of that. If you have certain programs, like for example, you have Singapore, they don't allow students to apply in that year because you need your results. But they're also looking at students who have got a 98 and a 99 in their 12th. That's irrespective of what you do in your these exams that are there as well. It's highly competitive, so you have to have something who's really, really academically good.
So one
You're
has
looking at good countries, and I'm saying you might be able to get into. So that's the thing. The next factor would be where you're looking for this. That
Right.
would slightly change the requirement in academic.
We need an expert to evaluate that for sure.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Sometimes students do say, I have a 80, 85, or maybe I have, just a 79. Can I do a medical degree? See, the answer to it is yes. I'll not say no.
Yeah.
Right? But you will have to justify as to why you got a 67, yeah, or a 79, right, in your 12. Like, if there, in fact, I know he's a neighbor of mine. Yeah, a neighbor of mine, he actually got 67% very specifically for in his 12th grade.
Yeah.
But he was exceptionally good in his reasoning skills, in his communication skills. So his 12th score, he got a 67, but he got a 1580 in his SAT.
Wow.
All right. So therefore, he went ahead, for his pre-med studies to the US, and then he's a doctor now, and he's a practicing doctor in New York.
Yeah.
So so sometimes the stories are there that
Yes.
you do not get a that kind of percentages during your 11th and 12th, maybe due to XYZ reason. But yes, you should be able to have a very good reasoning aptitude. There would be a lot of academic rigor that would be there, so you'll have to be able to understand those. And if it is a overseas education, then we would say that's what I told. English becomes mandatory, because you need to communicate in that language, you need to write your assignment in that language, your lectures would be in that language, right? So yeah, academic, definitely yes, but we are not really discouraging students who are in their 80s. We
Right,
are,
right.
even you, if you can, clear the, so that's how you manage your scores, right? As I told about this boy who did not do well in his 12th, but his SAT was brilliant. So there can be a child who did not do very well in the 12th class because of COVID or this or that, but has a brilliant score in the MCAT or in the UCAT or the BMAT, right?
Yeah,
So in
absolutely.
this case, yeah, so the holistic, all applications are looked at in a holistic manner.
Absolutely.
You might have to
Yeah, I mean, it's
figure out.
just a a thumb rule. I mean, it's not. There are definitely, we have seen many diverse
Right.
people, students that have come for this. So it's not that you can't.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that's what actually makes me come to the next slide. A lot of students would be there, can I get into a medical degree without NEET, can I get into not doing medicine without doing any
Yes.
aptitude
Yeah.
test. So yeah, you would find a lot of advertisements in the web, in Google, in the newspaper, no test, no worries, you can still do your medical from XYZ countries. Yeah,
Yeah.
we are in no way, and I'm speaking this for Bushra, I'm speaking this for ma'am as well. We are not promoting any country, and we are not discouraging any student. All right. So this is certain things we want you to understand. If if a college or a university is accepting you for a medical degree without looking for your academic qualification, without asking for any kind of test, you need to understand why they are doing it. All right. Also, you need to understand, are you the person who would actually take in that? And if you're taking in that offer, what have you seen in that offer that you have picked up that particular country or that particular college to do your medical degree from? All said and done, you will be going to these countries, and I am sure you might have seen a lot of advertisement happening all across, right? For example, Russia, or Sweden, for that matter. I read the statistics that in 2019, Times of India gave the statistics where they said, the medical student, there are a lot of students who do their medical studies there. The percentage range around 6% to 7%, right? Whereas in India, our medical graduate ratio is 0.06%. So that's our ratio. All right. Lakhs of students gives the medical test, but cannot make it to the medical degree. So it doesn't mean that the students who did not make it to MBBS, are not eligible to start, to study medicine. India as a country, we have our own ups and downs. So we have, certain limitations in the medical field. Maybe the number of medical colleges are less. Aspiring students, the number is very, very high, right? So, in NEET, if you are a 680, you got it. And if you have a 470, you did not. But that doesn't really mean that you're not that good a student. So a lot of countries would like to pick you up.
Yes.
Please come and do your medical studies from our university, because they do have the facility. I'm not saying that these universities or these countries would not have good medical facilities. Maybe the medical colleges are good, they have good medical facilities in them, your education might be good also, right? But you need to understand, if you're going to this country, what are the pros and cons that are there, right? One is, whenever you're going for any country, any XYZ country, you step outside India, you would be requiring a visa to enter that country. And if you're entering that country in a visa, that visa would be a student visa because you're going there to study. And all student visas are non-immigration visas. All right. Please understand that even if you're going to all of these countries for your medical study, after the end of your studies, you need to come back to India. All right. So are you prepared to come back? And if you're, if you want to come back to India and be a practicing lawyer, what does it take to be, a doctor in India? So for that, I'll go to the next slide. But here I would, like to get some inputs from Bushra and also from ma'am, because ma'am recently had a case of a student who did her medical study in Ukraine. Ma'am, over to you, and then maybe we'll take,
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody who, is aware of what is happening in Ukraine and the medical students and how many medical students have come back and their plight. As such, the NMC has not really made any, commitment as to, what is the fate of these students. Only those who have passed their MBBS, they are now allowed to give the exam, the FMGE exam. But those, we had a case just, a few days ago where a student had done 4 years of her, medical in Ukraine and has come back and now trying desperately to find a transfer to a different country. Now, the problem that has arisen in this scenario is that for most students, they have had to rush out of the country, right, because of the war. Now, in that circumstance, they have not been able to get the transcripts from the university. So although this student had finished 4 years of studies for the MBBS program, she had only mark sheets and transcripts for the first year. There is no documentation for the next 3 years. So now what happens in a transfer case, even if she was to get some seat somewhere in any of these countries that, I mean, like, you have Poland and you have Georgia, you have Hungary, they are being a little more sensitive and a little more empathetic to students who have come back from Ukraine. And so there are some places where they may find, some universities where they may find, that there are seats available. But how does a student apply to these universities without transcripts? And, when I spoke to the mother, is saying, we can't apply for the transcripts because they are not giving it. And if we say that we want them, they realize that we're leaving. So they're just holding on. So we are in a catch-22 where we can't get transcripts or transfer and we can't finish our studies. So, I mean, in situations like this, I mean, the university was good, recognized and whatever. But so be very, very careful, because it's a question of monetary that you are investing, but a lot more than that, because it's a lot of time, and effort that you are investing in this type of professional degree, right? It's not like a normal degree where, okay, if I don't finish it here, I can transfer my credit and do it somewhere else. So therefore, to reason out what, as Parmita is saying, we know that there are good universities around the world, and this is one of the most costly degrees that one can do, right? Having countries like this where the program is definitely lesser, monetarily wise, is something that I know that many students look at and parents look at, that yes, I want to become a doctor, but I just don't have the funds for it. So therefore looking at these countries. But please be very, very sure, that these are the right universities for you.
So I have a question here, ma'am. Is that how do any student know whether this university is right, or is there any criteria, or there are any factors or accreditations that one has to check?
So, you will find, if you go to the MCI site, you will find for each country, there are universities that are recognized by the MCI, the Medical Council of India.
Right.
Look at those, because otherwise, if you go to a university which is not recognized and you want to come back, you don't have a chance for doing that, right? So there is accreditations, there are places where the NMC, you have the list of universities. Make sure that you are looking at those type of universities.
Great.
I
So
would like to add here, even for India, those are there. Even when you're looking across the world, there is this website WDOMS. It's a World Medical Directory.
Yeah.
Right. So all the accredited universities who have a medical accreditation would be listed in that directory. Bushra, you can put it in. It's www.wdoms.org. Okay, this is a world directory of medical schools. So it's like those yellow pages that we have. So all the accredited universities would be, enlisted in the world directory of medical school. Make sure that the university that you are enrolling to is listed in the world directory. All right?
just DOM, right?
Yeah, it's www.wdoms.org. So we can put that. So I have stories of students I have seen, I personally met them who have been to the Caribbean islands. So it's a small island, and a lot of students from there made to the medical degree in the US.
Yes.
Right. So in the Caribbean islands, they do have this entire medical setup where students are trained to be medical doctors. But mind you, they are trained, they have the facility. So during the COVID times and all, if you have some emergency kind of a situation, those students do have all the necessary knowledge, to aid. But for them to get a medical degree or a license, you need to clear certain examinations. Like if you're looking at US, you'll have to clear the MCAT exam. So some countries like Canada, US, they do not have a medical or a MBBS degree of 4 years or 5 years like that we have here in 5 years or so in India. So their degrees are 4 years undergrad degree. And during that 4 years of your undergrad, you would be doing all your basics of medical study, like anatomy, biochemistry, microbiology, physiology, all of that subjects you will be studying, and you will be appearing for your MCAT exam, right? And then you do your specialization in whatever specialization you want to do in the medical field. So yeah, when I talked with that student who came from the Caribbean islands, she did say that, the facilities were very good, but unfortunately, she could not, maintain the academics there. And after completing 3 years of her studies in the Caribbean island, she was back to Hyderabad, back to square one, back to the place where she started. And for her, it was just 10 plus 2. So she had to start everything all over again after class 12. You know what generally students do in India. So be a little mindful about, the university where you're going. And if you are going, make sure that you have the capability, or you work hard in such a way that you clear those various barriers that are there to make you a successful doctor. All right. So when we look at the duration of this program, for the pre-med programs and all are basically 4 years, US would have. In India, we have 5.5 years. If you're looking at the integrated kind of a program where medicine can be an undergrad degree or a specialization. In few countries, they do the specialization along with your undergrad. So they would have something like an integrated BA MD program or a BS MD program, right? Where you are, if you're very, very focused that, yes, this is what I want to do. Because when I come across students and, when they say I want to become a doctor, almost 90% of them would say, I want to be a neurosurgeon. All right. So many would say, no, I want to be a surgeon. I want to be a radiologist. I rarely come across someone saying that I want to be a general practitioner or I want to do something in medicine, because that's what most of them end up doing, because all of these programs are so very rigorous. You need to study, long hours of, long duration of your specialization. So you'll have to be even mindful of that if you're getting into any integrated kind of a program, which lots of the universities might promise you, okay, that you go for a specialization. Make sure that you choose the right kind of program. As advisors here, and I'm sure Shilpa ma'am would agree to it, a 6-year integrated program which gives you a master's in medicine may not have, what it takes to be a doctor.
Yes.
So
I
there
agree.
would be some universities. Yeah. So make sure that you know all of this. And if you're coming back to India, so this is what ma'am already said. That you need to know the difficulty level. Okay, it's not just packing your suitcase and getting your visa stamped and flying, taking that flight. It's much beyond taking that flight, to this country, because it's your academics, it's how focused you are. You'll be out of your home, out of your comfort zone, right? And there's going to be a high academic rigor that you need to face, right? So you will have to prepare yourself for all of that before you take that step to apply or board the flight to this country. Okay, right? So this is something we would look at. And as ma'am already mentioned, medical degree is the most expensive degree all across the world. So if I am looking even in the medicine, so it's that medicine followed by veterinary sciences, dentistry. All the three branches of medicine are very, very expensive all across the world. So if you are looking at any of the three, now you have to have your financial backing in place. If you do not have the financial backing, you will have to make sure that you are that academically all-rounded child. We call it now all-rounded, it's completely all-rounded. So if you are that all-rounded child, there are definitely a lot of scholarships available, scholarships given by the various governments that you would be looking at. I come across a lot of students saying that they would like to do their medical studies in Korea, because yes, the South Korean government is actually promoting a lot of international graduates to do their medical studies from there, and they do give generous scholarship. But mind you, if you're looking at Korea, you need to have the Korean language, because some of the examinations have to be done in the Korean language. So you need to have at least the topic 6 is what the qualifying score would be. So you might look at doing your undergrad, but make sure that you know what you're up for. All right. So the most this examinations are so difficult that it takes a year or so for you to prepare. So you should have that amount of time with you.
I really enjoy watching the series from Korea, K-drama, Doctors. And it was
Doctor.
amazing. Yeah. So it shows how operations and how hospital management works and everything. So it was an amazing show. So student targeting probably medicine in Korea can actually watch that.
Yes.
So I have a question, Parmita ma'am, here is that I see a very less percentage of scholarship, or probably a very less chances of getting scholarship for medicine student is there. Are there possibilities for these students to work on part-time? Because as you mentioned that the program is pretty rigorous. There are long hours and duration of the program, so it is going to be expensive as well. So are the policies the same for the medicine student as well as for the other students? Or is there any other way they can support
So
their?
it will be university specific and country specific. But yes, if you're going as a student, there would be certain work, opportunities that students are given. This may not be something where you can deal with patients directly, Vishra. So, there are a lot of teaching assistants kind of work, volunteering kind of work. So even volunteering, mind you, if you're volunteering for, as a doctor, it can just go against you without completing of your degree, right? So you can do work like maybe working in your admission department, maybe, or maybe helping out in the library, maybe for some time to get some money, provided you have the kind of time required. Yeah. So since the academics would be very, very heavy, you would have to do your assignments and all. Not really sure if you would be able to get, if you can manage that kind of a time to do your extra work. But yes, the visa would not deny you to do anything as such. right? That would be there, but realistically, not possible. I have heard a story about a boy who couldn't manage time in the daytime. He had 2 hours at night, and he used to work as a porter to get some extra money. We do not advise such kind of things, for students. Yeah. So unless and until it is, there is no their need of it.
Therefore, financial planning is very important for this type of thing. Knowing for a fact that, irrespective of you're allowed to do many things, but whether you can physically do it or not, that's a different story altogether. So you must do this financial planning well ahead of time to get into a program like this, because you can't afford to get stuck, right? With your fees and whatever, because it's a long drawn process and program. So you must make sure that you have the finances for something.
In some countries, you might just qualify for a different kind of visa if you're looking for working, like nursing and midwife and all of that. So it will not be a student visa. So you would, since you're going abroad, you'll have to know the rules and regulations and what category of visa you're going in. Like in US, for vocational type of courses where a lot of studies happen during the work, like flying courses and all, being a pilot. So you cannot academically learn how to drive a plane, So for all of those, the category is not a student visa. Now, even student also, you have different visa categories. So in the US, for example, you have the M visa category students, right? For vocational kind of courses, or for courses where they would have to work while they are studying. So you'll have to make sure, whichever country you're going, Poland or US or UK, what is the category of visa that you're getting in, and you will be bound by those rules. And all said and done, you should never fall out of your visa, status.
No.
Your visa status. You'll have to maintain your visa.
All right, great. Yes. So what else do we have?
So yeah, this is what we were talking about. Yes. Since we said you are going abroad for your medical studies, and you're going as a student, any day it's a non-immigration process. So you will have to clear the licensing that is there for those universities also, or those countries also.
Countries, yeah.
If not, your visa would only be educated if you show that you have ties to your home country. You'll be coming back to India, right? Yeah. So that's where the foreign medical graduate examinations come into play. There was a lot of hue and cry back in 2019, 2020, where, students went to the High Court, challenging the exam and all of that. Yeah. And yes, some changes have been there. This was an offline kind of an exam where all students from various parts of the world and India used to come to Delhi to take the examinations. Now, those things are not there. The examinations have been simplified a lot, and also it's online, completely online. You have around, I think, 25 cities in India where you can choose from your, choose your center for the examinations. But just remember, FMGE is not just an exam. As it is said, if you are a doctor, you know your subjects well, you should be able to clear it. If you have studied well, you should be able to clear it, because the subjects are paramedical and medical related. You need to do microbiology, you need to do anatomy, you need to do physiology. So the levels would be such that if you clear the examinations, you'll be able to handle the patients here in India. Right. And if you're really looking to come back, make sure that while you were in your, second year or third year of your medical studies in abroad, take the syllabus that is there for FMGE, start preparing parallelly with it. Okay, so it is not that difficult an exam. You have 2 attempts and all. So make sure that you clear the exam in the first attempt, and you're already preparing parallelly along with your medical studies.
I think it's a good suggestion, actually.
Yeah, even for students who would like to go for the graduation, no, Bushra? Like, they are already in their MBBS, and we have few students with us.
Yes.
They have onboarded to our program when they were in the 3rd year of their medical study.
Yeah.
Right. So for preparing for the USMLE, it's best to give few exams while you're still studying.
Exactly.
Instead of waiting till the last moment and preparing for the exams at that time. So yeah, the earlier you start preparing, the better it is. So instead of cursing the Indian system and cursing the FMG system, best is that you're going to a different country for the studies, because maybe in India you couldn't get that kind of a seat, or maybe the NEET score wasn't up to your expectation. So make sure that you are prepared with the licensing exam and you prepare it well. Come back to India, give the licensing exam, and be a practicing doctor in India. We need people like you. India needs a lot of doctors, but make sure that you clear the licensing exam.
Yeah, great.
So yeah.
Right. So I think we had so many Q&A during the session itself. So I don't see any requirement.
Necessity for this slide.
Yeah. So I just have one last question to ask both of you before we wrap up this session. Is it really worth studying medicine overseas?
Okay. All right, I'll answer this. And first of all, I think the question is more as to, for me, I feel the thing is, what is it that you want to do in the future? What is your goal? To come back to, or stay there, and therefore you're looking at going abroad, so that you're already in that system. You've got, you're going to the US or something, then you're giving your USMLE and all of it. You're in that system, or you're giving MCAT, right? I feel that I don't know the reason why you are looking for going abroad for for the overseas, for the medicine degree and whatever. It has some meaning if you want to go and do this, but as I said, what is your long-term goal? Is it to come back to India and practice, right? If that is the case, well, you can, if you've done well in your NEET and you have the, if you've done well in your NEET, you can get into a government college. Then obviously your monetary requirement is not so high. But if you've not, and you're looking at, private medical colleges and you can't afford it, then definitely that's a good reason to think of going abroad and finishing that and coming back, right? So I think one of the biggest reasons usually is that because it's not affordable. Since you're not doing well in your NEET and your entrance exam, therefore you're looking out, right? But you also need to, when you're looking at giving your exam, when you're coming back, the FMG exam, you also need to realize the statistics that are there, which shows that many of these students that are going to different types of countries that we had shown earlier, there is not a very high percentage of students that clear that exam. So the level of education, the type of university that you're looking at is very important if you're looking of going abroad.
Right. Okay.
You can add to this if you want.
Maybe I'll add a small story. I'm so bad at adding stories everywhere. So this was a boy who was getting in his mock test around 540, 560, like that in NEET. He had thought of nothing but being a doctor, right? So, and he was academically doing good. He was so sincere, his sister told me, 11th and 12th, ma'am, he didn't even, visit the shopping mall. The t-shirt during, Diwali and the Dashera is something that we got for him, and he wore whatever we got him. All right. So for him, he was dedicatedly looking towards, doing NEET and clearing his exam. Unfortunately, a very, bad thing happened when he was sticking his, NEET paper. One sequence went wrong.
OMR sheet.
Yeah. So the question number this have to be, and it just slipped one. And that's how his entire paper was
Oh,
When he checked his, predict, not like you get the answer key immediately, right? He checked his answer key. His score was coming to 560. He knew that is not the scores he would be getting because he missed. Because when he realized was the last, he was saying, "Oh, I'm leaving these two questions," but he felt there was just one question that was there, and he didn't have enough. So that was when his dream shattered, and he was looking to go to Ukraine. He was looking to go to Russia because he didn't know anything beyond medicine. What would he do? So that's when a counseling session happened with me, and I took two sessions with that boy. First, we discussed the pros and cons that were there. The boy himself did a lot of research. Actually they thanked me that, "Ma'am, thank you, आपने यूक्रेन जाने के लिए नहीं बोला था." All right, so that was in 2020. All right, so and I said, like, why don't you go and do BBA? It's fine, right? If if you want to be a doctor because you have that social fitment, well, go ahead. He was a good student. He didn't like math, and that was the only reason he chose PCB. And PCB, he didn't know anything beyond being a doctor. Yeah, that boy is doing well, doing BBA, and he's doing, he's happy. He has time for himself, and I'm sure probably he's getting, his T-shirt and shopping himself, right? So that's what I would say. If the reasons for being a doctor, you feel it's not strong enough, do look at other options. Maybe you can do equally well there. And if you
right.
feel that, yes, I want to be a doctor, and India, as ma'am said, for some percentage here and there, MCI counseling, you couldn't get it, and you do find there is a country abroad which has a university which meets your need, which meets your financial needs, meets your academic need. Make sure that you do your studies well and prepare for the FMGE alongside. All right. So we also need, those doctors to come back to India and serve your country. Right. So that would be all from my side for today. So
Yes.
yeah, meet you again in some other weekly class.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think, Parmita ma'am, I would also see it as an amazing example for students who don't know the importance of career counseling probably.
Yes.
So that counseling has changed the entire journey of him from being a doctor to somebody is into business.
Yes.
So yeah, so I think this is important. So with this, I think I would wrap up the session, and it was amazing talking to you both. It was an amazing session. Actually, I felt a lot of information we could gather apart from just knowing the details of
Right.
how to get into medicine. So we have just one question from Jyoti Bansal here. Okay, so it's not a question. Okay, so
So the story, I think, he could
yeah,
not.
yeah, she's suggesting that he could have tried
Should
it.
try the next
He could have tried, but he later realized that, he could have, he can do something much better,
Right.
something which was more suited to his personality than going ahead with a medical degree.
He found the right fit for him, actually.
And in fact, he's into investment banking and all these days.
Amazing.
So that's what his sister tells me. Yeah. So yes, and he's happy. He's happy.
Yeah.
So this slide is for all our viewers. If you have similar story and you need a career guidance or career counselor to help you, so we would recommend that you can get in touch with the IDC. You can also scan this code to book a free orientation session for overseas. We'll meet you next month Saturday again with another topic. If you have any suggestions, also please write in the comments. We would love to hear from you, and we will do another amazing session with you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.